Yo, this is MegaManFan, and you need to rock and or roll on over to Mr. MegaManFan's YouTube channel, because it's all that rush to make it happen. Peace!
I'm your host, Mr. MegaManFan, and as always, thank you to MegaRan for that introduction on the Retro Hunting Adventures. It's going to be a Wii U day again, but this might be the last big one that we do unless there are some major developments in 2021. But first, Sniper Elite V2, which I accidentally bought twice because one took so long to come in the mail that I bought another one, but that other one is sealed, so I'll probably spend more time playing the one that's loose with no manual and leave the sealed one the way it is. We have another package here in a very thin, flimsy envelope, my least favorite kind when it comes to eBay purchases. And let's see how the contents fared, if I can actually get inside of the contents, because the other problem with anything that flimsy and thin is that it becomes very hard to peel it away because it's so tightly wrapped around the item. At least this one had some cardboard on the inside, protecting the contents from the envelope on the outside and the ravages of the postal system. So some extra protection from the seller. I can't fault them for that. And they even wrapped it in paper inside the cardboard. So best effort here despite the very small envelope. So all in all, I'm satisfied. And here we have Ben 10 Omniverse 2. Now, obviously, because it was a library checkout copy, it's not in the original Wii U case, but I can always make a substitute if I want it to be in that beautiful baby blue. It's more important to see if it's a working game and then figure out where to go from there, because the last time I had a copy of Ben 10 2, it had a scratch all the way through the paint down to the data layer, and it was ruined, and I had to return it to the seller from Amazon. So this time I'm hoping for a much better result. Anyway, here we have another Wii U game. This one came all the way from Canada. How to Train Your Dragon 2. This one is surprisingly hard to find. I could only find a seller in Canada that had it complete, and it seemed like it was never going to get here. It took multiple weeks to arrive from the seller's location to mine in Nebraska, but I'm satisfied because it is as described, and the disc is in the condition it was listed, which was very good, like new. So even though it took forever, you really can't go wrong with this one. Here's a package that arrived in a nice sturdy box, which is going to take more than just a pair of scissors to open. Got to break out the knife for this one and split the packing tape on both ends and then through the seam down the middle. I usually do this from the bottom of the box so that I don't have to black out the shipping label. Inside we have Hot Wheels, World's Best Driver. This is another game that I accidentally ended up with 2 copies of because one was lost in the mail for almost a month, and it wasn't even a Canadian seller. It was a seller in the United States, but thankfully they understood the situation when I ended up with 2 of them and accepted one as a return and gave me a refund, which I thought was a very nice thing to do. I sent them back the game, they gave me back the money, all parties were happy. So I ended up with 1 complete copy with manual and instructions, the one you're looking at right here. That wasn't the only thing to arrive in the mail on this fateful day. We've got this unassuming white package, which I probably could have opened with a pair of scissors if I'd had any handy, but since I already had the knife out for the box, I thought we might as well put it to good use and get this package open with it as well. This particular seller believes in double packing everything because there was an envelope inside the envelope, so maybe scissors were the right choice because I didn't realize I was going to have so many different layers to go through to get to the contents. Once it was all said and done, though, I had another of the hardest to find Nintendo Wii U games, Mario and Sonic, at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. As you can see by the price that was still on it from a game store, it went for $75 new, and it still goes for about that used, because this one just didn't sell well or was a victim of being too late in the Wii U's lifespan or had a super low print run. But getting it complete like this is a very tough ask. You can find the loose disc here and there, but in this full condition with the insert, it's hard to call it a manual, but the insert that tells you to look up the electronic manual online, all of these things together in a case that's in good shape, not super easy to come by. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of testing How to Train Your Dragon 2, a movie which I can admit I have not actually seen. I saw the first one and I did like it quite a bit, but the sequel is a mystery to me. I think my wife has gotten a Blu-ray digital download code combo version of it, so should be available on Vudu or Movies Now or Amazon or one of those streaming services. We all know there's a billion of them these days, but if you want How to Train Your Dragon 1, that's probably going to be a Nintendo Wii game, if one even exists. There's definitely not a Wii U How to Train Your Dragon 1, which it wouldn't have even had a numeral anyway. It would have just been How to Train Your Dragon, because it didn't become a franchise until the second movie came out. Bottom line is, this works. This is a tested and working game. And once again, Little Orbit is involved, and they seem to be with a lot of Wii U releases, as does Taurus. I suppose when you have a platform that doesn't sell well, you only have a few developers that really know how to get the most out of it and make games that work. Got a couple more to test here to finish out the video, so I decided the easiest thing to do would be to plonk down a folding chair right in front of the Wii U. I normally have the touchpad at one end of the room so I can use it like a remote with the TV, but in this case I'm just gonna sit right here so I can pop these in and pop them out really quick, eject the discs after I'm done testing them. Hopefully there are not any huge installing or update times on either one of these, or a big jump cut will be required. But first, let's see if the disc even loads up on the touchpad. Always a good sign when it doesn't say invalid disc, because then you know you got a problem. And sometimes that's not a problem you can solve no matter how much you wipe it down with a soft cloth. Hot Wheels is definitely in the working category. I'm sure the other copy I got would have worked as well because it looked immaculate. So that seller should have no problem selling it to somebody else who's trying to complete their physical collection of North American Wii U games. I got a little chastised on one of the forums I frequent for saying NTSC games, because that also describes games that are released in Japan. So you can't say NTSC because that describes the television broadcast format, NTSC or PAL. But for me, that became a shorthand for distinguishing between games in the United States and games in Europe. And I really should say North American games, European games, Japanese games. I should be much more specific than that. So not NTSC games, because Japanese games are also NTSC, but North American games, games that were sold physically in the United States, Mexico, Canada, that region of the globe. And now, for the final game that I had to get to complete the physical North American set, Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. Not the last game I bought, just the last one to arrive in the mail, thanks to Canada to US being super slow these days. It wasn't always like that. Back in the 2000s, I could send stuff to Canada and get stuff sent from Canada to me, and it seemed like it would only take a week or less. Now, I don't know if that's because of the last 4 years of politics between the two nations, or if that's because of the pandemic, or if that's both. But it definitely got worse in recent times. It never got better, but it definitely got much, much worse in a much shorter amount of time, which makes me think politics had something to do with it, because Canada is our friendly neighbor to the north, but unfortunately, some people in positions of power weren't treating them like our friendly neighbor when they should have been. And I'm not going to get any more political than that, so we're just going to leave it there. Now, unfortunately, the Miiverse features will all be disabled because Nintendo discontinued them a long time ago. They moved on to the Switch, and they discontinued everything except for the eShop. You can still buy games for Wii U digitally, at least as of right now you still can. But that will probably be discontinued at some point soon too. Hopefully not in 2021, but it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. And even with the eShop still being around, you can't necessarily expect them to endlessly make available something that's already dated in a sports franchise, because what incentive do they have to sell it digitally when not many people are looking for a 4+ year old sports game, unlike somebody that's actually collecting the physical discs, which needs all of them to complete a set. So if you can get it digitally, it would certainly be cheaper than this was. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. My North American Wii U collection is now complete, and as always, thank you for watching.